The story begins as a man named Hee Sung struggles in a swimming pool, his hands and feet bound and bleeding from a head wound. The ropes around his wrists are tied to a ring at the bottom of the pool, keeping him just an inch from the surface. His wife, Cha Jae-won, soon jumps in and kisses him to keep her husband breathing. Elsewhere, that same couple engage in a heavy makeout session in a metal shop, while sexy music plays. Eventually the woman, Jae-won, realizes that she's late and starts rushing to leave. They're planning to see his parents tonight for his birthday, and he notes that Jae-won seems excessively concerned with impressing them. On the way to dinner later, their daughter, Yoon-ha, whines that grandma is scary. Jae-won says there's no reason to be scared, but the little girl points out that mommy is scared of her, too. Hee Sung's parents are clearly unhappy to be there. They're openly rude to Jae-won, and they flat out ignore Yoon-ha when she's prompted to greet them. They don't sing when the birthday cake is brought out, or comment on Jae-won's gift to Hee Sung, a new leather watch band engraved with his initials. Jae-won takes Yoon-ha to the restroom, leaving Hee Sung's mother to snarl at him for showing off his perfect family. But he just replies that they could have declined the invitation. Hee Sung's dad slams down his glass and orders them to stop, reminding them that they're all in the same boat. Jae-won returns and lets her husband know that she's been called in to work. She apologizes sweetly to her in-laws, but mom accuses her of being vindictive because she wasn't welcoming enough in the past. Hee Sung stops Jae-won before she gets caught in an apology spiral and assures her that everything is fine, so she heads out. Later, Yoon-ha is asleep in her daddy's lap when grandparents bring up the subject of Jae-won again. Hee Sung says softly that he and his wife are made for each other. Mom sneers that he has a dirty past and he's married to a detective. In response, he says that Jae-won believes what she sees, so he only shows her what she wants to see. Meanwhile, Jae-won was called in for a case involving a young boy named In-seo who woke up in the hospital with an injury and accused his father of trying to kill him. He's a hefty boy and says that his father called him disgusting and kicked him down a flight of stairs, then left him there to die. In-seo's father, Kim Sung-jin, was arrested, and of course he says that he's innocent. He's questioned by Choi Yi-seob, Jae-won's partner, who thinks it's unlikely that a young boy would lie about his father attempting to murder him. According to Sung-jin, he was helping In-seo to exercise on the stairs when he got a call from a friend to join him for drinks. He says he sent In-seo home to his mother and would never harm his precious son. Yi-seob leans over to sniff Sung-jin's clothes and determines that he was drinking earlier. He is convinced that Sung-jin is guilty, but Jae-won points out the slippers he's wearing, which don't fit, indicating that he ran out of the restaurant quickly when he heard of his son's accident. Yi-seob says that she puts too much trust in physical evidence and doesn't use her instincts enough. They look to their younger partner, Im Ho-jun, to be the tiebreaker. Meanwhile, a reporter named Kim Moo-jin interviews the wife, who admits that Sung-jin can be strict and doesn't like it when plans change. Jae-won interrupts so that she can talk to the wife, and Moo-jin proudly shows Ho-jun the sensational title of the article he's writing. His pen runs out of ink, so Ho-jun lends him a very fancy one, saying that Jae-won's metal craftsman husband made them for the team. Something about that information interests Moo-jin. In-seo's mother, Ae-young, is pale and drawn, and she seems distracted as Jae-won starts asking her questions. She insists that her son isn't a liar, but when Jae-won insinuates that her husband might be guilty, she yells that her family is fine. Later, the detective trio discuss the situation and Moo-jin is now convinced that Sung-jin was after his son's life insurance money. Jae-won says that the policy doesn't even pay out until In-seo turns 15. But Moo-jin counters that there doesn't need to be a grand motive. He knows of a man who killed 7 people and buried their bodies in the woods just for fun, including his wife who was planning to leave him. He finds it interesting that the killer was a metal craftsman just like Jae-won's husband. Jae-won then gives Moo-jin one of Hee Sung's business cards and offers to get him a fancy pen in exchange for a good mention on social media. The following day, Jae-won heads back to work and watches the CCTV camera footage of the parking garage in Sung-jin's building. She finds the moment when he's leaving, and he's wearing his own shoes and seems calm and relaxed. On the other hand, Moo-jin rereads an article he wrote about the serial murders in Yeonju, which he attributed to a man named Do Min-seok. Apparently Do Min-seok committed suicide, though nobody knows why, and it's heavily implied that his son, Do Hyun-soo, may also be a murderer. He takes a call from someone who claims to have seen Do Hyun-soo recently. Moo Jin's pen dies again as he's taking notes, so he dumps out his bag to find another one. It's tangled with a broken necklace, which reminds him of the pretty high school girl, Hee-soo, that it belonged to. While checking the apartment building's CCTV feed, Ho-jun and Jae-won find footage of a little boy entering the elevator with his dog around the time of In-seo's accident. The boy looks agitated, so they think he might know something. Meanwhile, Yi-seob visits the office of Dr. B, the friend of Sung Jin's who called him out for drinks the previous night. He's surprised to find that she's a woman, but she says that she and Sung Jin treat each other like guys. She says she was too drunk to go to the hospital with Sung Jin, and Yi-seob sniffs her and agrees that she reeks of alcohol. He searches in his pockets for a business card and accidentally drops a handful of coins on the floor. He asks Dr. B to get the coins that rolled under her desk, and while she's upside down, he swipes her phone. He takes it to a guy he knows, who pulls out the SD card and retrieves her photos. Yi-seob isn't at all surprised to find photos of Dr. B and Sung Jin together, acting like much more than friends. When he'd sniffed Sung Jin, he'd smelled a woman's perfume, and he'd smelled that same perfume on Dr. B. It is revealed that while watching over her son, In-seo's mom had taken out a bottle of vitamins and opened it, then threw it across the room when she found a cockroach inside. Jae-won determines that the cockroach had to have been put there on purpose. She identifies the boy from the elevator footage as living in her building, but it takes her a moment to recall his name. As they talk, Jae-won silently takes in Ae-young's disheveled hair, pale complexion, and unevenly buttoned sweater. Ae-young says that her husband and son are very close and even go hiking together often. A text comes in from Yi-seob telling Jae-won about her husband's affair, but Jae-won chooses not to tell his wife about it yet. Elsewhere, Hee-sung is working in his metal shop when Moo Jin walks in, looking for someone to fix the broken necklace that was in his bag. He asks for Ki-sung, but when Hee-sung turns to face him, both men freeze for a long, tense moment. Moo Jin calls Hee-sung by the name Do Hyun-soo, and something very frightening flickers in Hee-sung's eyes. Moo Jin stammers that he's surprised to see Do Hyun-soo because he was looking for Ki-sung, Jae-won's husband. It is obvious that Ki-sung is the killer that Moo Jin wrote about, but the detective has no idea he is leading a double life as Jae-won's husband. Hee-sung smiles and offers Moo Jin some tea. Back at the office, Ho-jun accuses Jae-won of not telling Sung Jin's wife about the affair because she feels sorry for her, but she says that it's because it's irrelevant to the case. Another text from Yi-seob says that according to a colleague, Sung Jin has been asking questions about divorce and seems especially distressed about child support. Next, Jae-won and Ho-jun talk to the little boy from the apartment building, Jae-hoon, who says that he was walking his dog yesterday and briefly lost him. He found the little dog in the stairwell, barking at In-seo. He says that his dog bit In-seo once, so In-seo is afraid of him, and that in his fear, he'd tripped and fallen down the stairs. Jae-won says that In-seo's mother threatened to have his dog put to sleep if he bit In-seo again, so he didn't tell anyone. Jae-hoon's mother agrees that Ae-young is very tough and meticulous. Jae-won calls Yi-seob to tell him to release Sung Jin, but Yi-seob still wants to know why In-seo would lie that his father tried to kill him. Ho-jun has a toothache, so he and Jae-won stop at a pharmacy. Jae-won looks at the brand of vitamins that In-seo's mom takes, and at first she finds nothing strange about them. But then she opens a bottle and finds that instead of the white pills that were in Ae-young's bottle, the vitamins are supposed to be yellow. Everything she's seen about the woman flashes through her mind, how Jae-hoon's mother said she's meticulous. Yet Jae-won has seen her acting frazzled and distracted, with her clothes in disarray. They hurry back to the hospital, and Jae-won sits next to In-seo and tells him that she knows he put the cockroach in his mom's vitamin bottle to stop her from taking them. She also says she knows why he was lying, and that it's time to tell his mother the truth. In-seo's parents are escorted from the room, and In-seo tells Jae-won that his father is a good dad to him, but that one day when they were hiking, Dr. B joined them, and he saw her give his father medicine to slip to his mom. The medicine makes Ae-young slow and out of it, so that even when she found lipstick on his collar one time, Sung Jin was easily able to convince her that it was paint. The plan was to make it easier for Sung Jin to divorce her, claiming that she's incompetent so that he could get custody of In-seo and avoid paying child support. In the hallway, Sung Jin seethes and threatens to sue the police for coercion of a statement from a child. Jae-won just arrests him for infliction of bodily harm towards his wife, and while Ho-jun takes him away, She stays back to tell Ae Young the truth. Meanwhile, Hee-sung wraps up a teapot that he made, admitting that it's a bribe to keep Moo-jin from telling anyone he saw him. He asks Moo-jin to write down his address so he can ship the teapot, then closes the blinds, turns up the music, and locks the doors. After a while, Hee-sung's mother calls Jae-won, and she steps away to take the call. Mom opens by saying that she hates Jae-won, that she isn't worthy of Hee-sung, and that she's just like her mother who nagged her father to death. She continues, accusing Jae-won of trapping Hee-sung into marriage by getting pregnant and telling her that they should think of each other as dead. Jae-won cries, but she keeps her voice calm as she asks his mother not to tell Hee-sung about this conversation because it kills him that they don't get along. When Jae-won gets home, which is above the metal shop, she finds Hee-sung and Yoon-ha playing while they make dinner. Hee-sung is the picture of the perfect husband and father as he hugs his wife and daughter, and their loving embrace turns into a cute tickle fight all over the house. Downstairs in the metal shop, there's a door in the floor that's kept closed with a heavy lock. Under the door is a basement room, full of electronics and children's toys, and Moo-jin, bound and gagged on the floor. A brief flash to the past sees Hee-sung practicing his smiling in the mirror and meeting Jae-won for the first time. It's a simple scene, but one that shows just how long this deception has been going on for. From here, we then cut back in time as Jae-won finds fragments of a broken teacup in the workshop and questions her husband about it. Hee-sung is definitely flying close to the sun though, and she almost catches him out for the lies. He makes an excuse that he met a friend from school, which is surprising to her as she thought he was a loner. Eventually, though, she shrugs this off and leaves things none the wiser to what's happening. The next day, police are called to the scene of another crime. This one sees a bloodied woman lying face down on the floor with her thumbnail missing. As Ho-jun comments, this seems eerily similar to the Yeonju City serial murder case they had years ago. All the victims in that case had their thumbnails missing too. As they talk, Jae-won contemplates whether there's a copycat to that murder prowling around all these years later. Before that though, Jae-won heads to the coroner's where she hears the autopsy report for this victim. It's a grisly affair too, including a broken ankle and multiple stab wounds. It's here we also learn that Do Min-seok was the name of the original killer all those years ago. As the plot thickens, it turns out the woman donated $370,000 before she died. She was old and owned the building. Her only family comes from her son. Jae-won continues to dive deep into the case, but something doesn't add up. If it really was a copycat killer, they'd know to use the dog leash just like in the past. Instead, this seems like pretty sloppy work. The multiple stab wounds also back up the theory that this seems to be the work of an amateur. Meanwhile, back at the warehouse, Hee-sung heads downstairs and takes the gag off Moo-jin. "Why are you doing this?" he asks, as we cut back in time and see exactly what's led him down this dark path. It turns out Moo-jin used to bully him in school and tied the boy to a tree. With stones in hand, they threw countless rocks at Hee-sung's face. However, Hee-sung doesn't want to kill the man. Indeed, he takes Moo-jin's phone and asks for the passcode. There, he makes Moo-jin phone work and tell them he'll be there the following day. As he hangs up, Moo-jin learns the truth about Hee-sung being Detective Cha's husband. He openly admits to murder and eventually regags the man and leaves him there. Hee-sung is called away to school with Jae-won where they learn Yoon-ha has been hit in the nose after taking a toy from another child. While Jae-won holds firm, Hee-sung makes her apologize. Jae-won is not happy though, but Hee-sung keeps up his facade and hides behind the fact it's his first time being a father. It seems to work too, and she begrudgingly forgives him. On the back of this, Yoon-ha and Hee-sung head out for lunch together, where the little girl's father admits that the doll has gone missing. Of course, that's not 100% true as Hee-sung was the one who took the doll and hid it. Back at the station, the officers come to blows over who the real killer actually is. As they check the will, a thumbprint in lipstick may just be a clue they need. Given how hard lipstick is to remove from the thumb, whoever it was that killed her cut the thumbprint off to try and hide it. This turns their gaze toward the social worker Park Seo-young. Jae-won heads off to see her, but she refuses to give a fingerprint for analysis. Yi-seob uses cryptic sentences from Seo-young to find evidence stashed on the roof. It's enough to incriminate her, and Jae-won eventually arrests the woman. As she does, we cut back in time and see this grisly murder play out. Not long after, she slaps the handcuffs on Park, and she's taken away. Hee-sung returns to the basement and confronts a very thirsty Moo-jin over entries in his diary regarding Nam Soon-kil. It turns out he was meeting this man as he had a tip-off about Hyun-soo in the past. As we soon learn, Hyun-soo is also Min Seok's son. This explains why he's been obscuring and hiding his real name. After learning more about those closing in on his past, Hee-sung collects Jae-won from work and they head home together. Some time later, with rain hammering to the ground, a cloaked figure holding a rope arrives at a Chinese diner where Soon-kil happens to be. Whoever he's on the phone to is left a voicemail confirming that Hyun Sae aka Hee-sung is there. After stabbing the man in the chest, Hee-sung heads into the back and wedges the bloodied knife into the wall. Eventually Hee-sung returns home where Jae-won sees him enter wearing that large black coat. The scene shifts to another flashback where Jae-won is forced to delete a video she's taken of Hee-sung. They're young in Hee-sung's workshop, and he steps up to confront her over her motives. He asks exactly what she's doing and she turns away and admits the truth, she is in love with him. A silence grows between them as Hee-sung struggles to keep his composure. Instead, he tells her to leave. Back in the present, Hee-sung convinces Jae-won that everything is okay. With her suspicions quelled for now, Hee-sung heads downstairs and feeds Moo-jin his last meal. As he crushes pills and looks to force them in his mouth, Moo-jin screams for mercy. Hee-sung brings up Moo-jin's story online and a subsequent video that's been uncovered too. Although Moo-jin pleads with him, telling Hee-sung he won't tell a soul, our murderer is calculated AMD wants a collateral. Jae-won arrives at the crime scene and starts investigating. After checking the body, Jae-won notices on the CCTV footage that a man stood over the victim in a black coat. Thinking back to Hee-sung, she realizes that he too had a black coat on the previous night. She keeps her thoughts to herself for now, as the police gather and discuss the potential return of this serial killer. Detective Woo Chul takes charge of the case, and they go through a list of the victim's phone contacts. As they get searching, one of those names happens to be Moo-jin. Realizing that the reporter is in trouble, they scramble over to his apartment. Unbeknownst to them, Hee-sung happens to be there already, checking through the laptop for footage. However, Moo-jin lied and the clips he has aren't actually of the murder itself. Rapping at the door sends him fleeing as he realizes Jae-won is there. Only, he doesn't get far as he scrambles out to the balcony and rests precariously on the edge. Just before he's caught, Hee-sung rings Jae-won and informs her that Moo-jin is with him. Only, midway through talking, a little boy sees Hee-sung up at the apartment and calls him a thief. Promising to get Moo-jin to visit the station, the officers leave. This allows Hee-sung to breathe a sigh of relief as the officers leave. Back at the station, more CCTV footage of the cloaked figure spills out and Choi Yi-sup seizes his opportunity to phone the driver and try to gather information. Bringing him into the station, he's questioned over what he and the killer spoke about, but it's cryptic at best. However, he does reveal that the cloaked man had the same job as his father. Jae-won returns home where he finds Moo-jin okay and standing alongside Hee-sung. As we cut back in time and see, Moo-jin begrudgingly agreed to work with him. Hee-sung found incriminating footage on his camcorder after all. Given this would ruin his career, Moo-jin is blackmailed into working with him. Back in the present, Jae-won patches up Hee-sung and quizzes Moo-jin over Soon-kil's murder. He's taken down to the station and admits that this is a serial killer's doing. He also goes on to admit Hyun-soo was working with his father. Moo-jin is certainly no Hee-sung though, and he fumbles his way through the interview, arousing suspicions with Jae-won. As Moo-jin learns more about Soon-kil's murder, he realizes one important detail: 3:30 am is the time of death. Only, that's also the time Hee-sung was with him, so he can't be the killer. Further evidence of that comes in the past, as Hee-sung saw a vision of his father tell him to kill Moo-jin. Instead, he rushed away, which saw him get hit by a car on the road. Later that day, news confirms that someone known as Mr. Do has been arrested. Although the village foreman was definitely Hee-sung's doing, he confirms that he didn't kill Soon-kil. Only, if it wasn't him, who was it? As we cut across to the killer, he doubles over in his black coat and starts coughing blood. With numerous pictures of a woman up on the wall and a keychain with a fish on, there's a few clues to show who it could be, but nothing definitive. Jae-won and Hee-sung took refuge from a sudden rainstorm under some eaves where she complained about the weather. Everyone in the neighborhood assumed they were already dating. Jae-won proposed a game of rock, paper, scissors to relieve the tension, with the loser having to stand in the rain for 30 seconds. Hee-sung dismissed the idea, but Jae-won played anyway and won. With a laugh, she pushed Hee-sung into the rain, and at the sight of her smile, he unknowingly smiled back. They were both surprised, and when Hee-sung turned away, he saw Do Min-seok's black eyes staring at him from across the street. When Jae-won followed Hee-sung's terrified gaze, Min-seok disappeared. Hee-sung demanded how she could like a guy like him and walked away, leaving behind a tearful Jae-won. In the pharmacy, Hee-sung's mother shouts that if people find out their secret, she'll kill herself in front of him. Taking a tonic from a nearby shelf, Hee-sung urges her to calm down. Mom apologizes for slapping Hee-sung, but when she learns that Jae-won is in charge of Nam Soon-kil's murder case, she throws the bottle, pointing out that she had warned him that Jae-won would make things worse. Sweeping up the glass, Hee-sung assures her that since the killer's blood was found at the scene, the investigation won't lead to Baek Hee-sung. When Hee-sung's father walks through his front door, the housekeeper writes a note. "Your son needs to eat." Dad heads to the secret room, its walls lined with the photos of the real Baek Hee-sung and his mathematics awards. After expertly connecting a feeding bag to a port in Hee-sung's abdomen, Dad gently strokes his son's hair. At the police station, a review of Do Min-seok's family register reveals the existence of a daughter, Hyun-soo's older sister, Do Hee-soo. A woman crouches beside the bloody body of a man lying at the bottom of an empty swimming pool. Blood dripping from her fingers, she asks if it hurts anymore. The man's eyes open when he answers that it doesn't sting but smells weird. When a director instructs Hee-soo to make the wound look fresher, we learn that she's a makeup artist. Mildly frustrated, Hee-soo asks the director if he's ever seen a murdered corpse before applying more fake blood. Hee-soo is interrupted when an assistant alerts her to a phone call. Jae-won enters a cafe and locates Hee-soo right away, who tells her that after Hyun-soo disappeared in 22, SH never saw him again. For 18 years, she has met tons of cops and told them the same thing. That's not Jae-won's question. She wants to know about the buildings that belong to Do Min-seok, suggesting that they weren't sold to provide refuge for Hyun-soo. Hee-soo explains that she only sold her father's land to pay the victims' families. She left everything else alone because she didn't want her father's money. After Hee-soo repeats, "I haven't seen our Hyun-soo for 18 years already," Jae-won asks why she sounds sad rather than resentful when speaking about her brother. Announcing that she needs to get back to work, Hee-soo leaves without answering the question. Moo-jin's online search for Baek Hee-sung reveals that the name belonged to the son of a university hospital director and that he was a recognized math whiz. Moo-jin jumps when Miss Kang leans close to ask, "What are you doing?" tossing two huge cases on the table. Miss Kang informs Moo-jin, "This is the father's case and this is the son's case," and reminds him, "I'm waiting for that exclusive." Hee-sung ignores a text from Moo-jin, and when he walks out of the bathroom, Jae-won is waiting with his raincoat. He allows her to put it on him, and after pulling up the hood, she laughs when Hee-sung asks if she thinks that he's the killer. Jae-won explains, "When you came home like this, I didn't recognize you at first. How did Nam Soon-kil recognize him right away?" Hee-sung helpfully suggests, maybe he was mistaken, but Jae-won wants the killer to be Do Hyun-soo so that she can be rewarded with a special promotion. Hee-sung looks worried when Jae-won sends him to bed first so she can work late. Joining Jae-won on the couch, Hee-sung lays his head in her lap. "I want to sleep here tonight." Hee-sung sees the file for the foreman's murder on the coffee table as Jae-won questions if Do Min-seok's kids were really unaware that their father was a serial killer. Jae-won deems the father and son the perfect case to study the role that DNA plays in antisocial personality disorder. When Hee-sung asks about the case, Jae-won informs him that the Chinese restaurant owner will be working with a sketch artist on an updated image of Do Hyun-soo. Hee-sung gets Jae-won to lie down beside him, and after studying his face, she brags that she'd know him from just his shadow. When her eyes start to close, Hee-sung asks if Moo-jin is helping with the sketch too, but Jae-won doesn't remember telling him that Hyun-soo and Moo-jin knew each other. Hee-sung fibs that she mentioned that they were classmates, and when Jae-won asks him not to share what she tells him, he promises not to. In Hee-sung's hometown, an old woman sees a report on the Chinese restaurant murder. An appeal for the public's help in identifying Do Hyun-soo gets her attention. Ho-jun supervises the meeting with the sketch artist, which isn't going well because Moo-jin and the Chinese restaurant owner keep contradicting each other. Remembering that Hee-sung tasked him with sabotaging the sketch, Moo-jin helpfully volunteers that Hyun-soo has a scar on his forehead. In the back of the taxi, Hee-sung watches another facial expression video and practices looking sad. When he impersonates Moo-jin for a meeting with Nam-soon-kil's widow, Hee-sung weeps when she mentions that he was the last person that her husband called. "If only I had picked up. I'm truly sorry." After Nam-soon-kil's widow insists that he's not to blame, Hee-sung asks why her husband was at the restaurant so late. She explains that once a week, her husband worked late on new recipes, and when Hee-sung asks who else knew, she can't think of anyone. Back in the village, the old woman removes a photo from an album, and in the background, Hee-sung/Hyun-soo has his arm around a very pregnant Jae-won. When the woman calls the police about the photo, Jae-won takes her call. The Chinese restaurant owner complains that the police sketch doesn't look anything like Do Hyun-soo. Ho-jun has doubts about Moo-jin's recollection, but he's not lying when he insists. "I remember it as if I had met him yesterday." After a call from Jae-won, Ho-jun announces that they no longer need the sketch and dismisses the men. Hee-sung asks Nam-soon-kil's widow to call if she remembers anything. He's about to walk away when she remembers something: the taxi. Because the old woman can't text an image of the photo, Jae-won insists on picking it up personally. After instructing the woman not to show the photo to anyone, Jae-won hangs up and goes in search of Ho-jun. Noticing the taxi driver's Tumblr, Yi-sub calls to remind him to pick it up. The taxi driver promises to come by later, even though he's parked across the street from the police station. Placing an earpiece in his ear, the taxi driver hears Woo-chul tell Yi-sub, "Once we have Do Hyun-soo's photo, the case will basically solve itself." In a flashback, Nam-soon-kil borrowed the taxi driver's phone and recognized the faded, hand-painted fish tile attached to it. Nam-soon-kil remembered seeing a newer version of that tile hanging from Hyun-soo's cassette player when they were roommates. After Nam-soon-kil uttered Do Hyun-soo's name, the taxi driver pulled over. In the present, the taxi driver stares at the faded fish before driving away. After the widow informed Hee-sung that her husband was picked up by the same taxi whenever he worked late, he gets a call from Moo-jin. Moo-jin delivers the bad news that a woman from their village recognized Hee-sung in a photo taken 5 years ago and Jae-won is on her way to pick it up. Moo-jin shoves a voice recorder into a jacket pocket just as Hee-sung gets into his car. When Moo-jin asks if they can beat Jae-won, Hee-sung tells him, "I know for a fact that we'll get there first, because they won't run any red lights." While stopped at a light, Ho-jun and Jae-won discuss Do Min-seok's 7th victim, who was never found. Jae-won can't understand why Do Min-seok committed suicide since it was the investigation into his death that led to the discovery of his victims. When she muses, "Do you think he really did commit suicide?" Ho-jun labels her doubt a conspiracy theory. Jae-won reminds him that the victims' left thumbnails were never found, suggesting that Min-seok had an accomplice, someone like Do Hyun-soo. As Moo-jin speeds through one red light after another, Hee-sung asks why he had Hee-soo's necklace. Hee-soo returned the necklace when they broke up and Moo-jin claims to have forgotten about it until he found it in a drawer. When Hee-sung tells him that he threw it away, Moo-jin's reaction suggests that the necklace meant something. Remembering the recorder, Moo-jin asks, "How did Hyun-soo become Beak Hee-sung? How did you manage to fool Detective Cha?" After Hee-sung answers that Jae-won knows nothing about his past, or that he's abnormal, Moo-jin wants to know if he has any feelings for her, especially after having a child together. Hee-sung recalls their first date as he shares that his dad is scared of Jae-won. "He won't be able to come near me as long as she's with me." Pulling out the hidden recorder, Hee-sung deletes everything on it and warns, "If Jae-won ever finds out what you know, I might really kill you." Being back in the village triggers traumatic memories for Hee-sung being bound to the tree as well as dragged before a twirling shaman in front of the entire village. Parked outside of Oh Bak-ya's house, Moo-jin goes over the plan as we see it played out. Moo-jin surprises Oh Bak-ya with a friendly visit and convinces her to show him the photo. After Moo-jin texts its location to Hee-sung, he steals it when Moo-jin lures Oh Bak-ya outside to greet the police. When Hee-sung gets away, he and Moo-jin reunite at a predetermined spot. Hee-sung asks what happens if things don't go as planned, but without a backup plan, they proceed. After Hee-sung hides in a small shed, Moo-jin approaches the house and sees that the front door is already open. Finding Oh Bak-ya with her arms and hands bound, Moo-jin runs to her side and gets hit on the back of the head. From the shed, Hee-sung sees the intruder exit the house, wearing a black raincoat. The intruder runs when Jae-won and Ho-jun pull up and his raincoat is pulled off when Hee-sung chases after him. Catching the intruder, Hee-sung pulls off his mask, confused by the man's greeting. "Do Hyun-soo, you may not know me, but you must know Young Mi-suk well." Jae-won and Ho-jun see Min-ju's car and wonder how he knew about their latest lead. Meanwhile, the intruder has a proposition for Hee-sung. "Let's meet ourselves, without the cops. I'll pick you up, in my cab. I've been waiting so long for this first date." When Hee-sung is distracted by the sound of Jae-won's voice, the taxi driver escapes. Jae-won sees a black raincoat on the ground just as Hee-sung is about to jump over the back fence. When she shouts, "Do Hyun-soo," he freezes, and he has to force himself not to look at her before running away. While Ho-jun tends to Moo-jin and Oh Bak-ya, Jae-won unknowingly chases after her husband. Keeping pace with Hee-sung as they run through the woods and onto a street, Jae-won follows him into a warehouse. From his hiding spot, Hee-sung watches as Jae-won reaches out to turn on an overhead light. Picking up a hammer, Hee-sung sends it sailing through the air just as Jae-won flips the switch. When it hits the light, sparks fly and Hee-sung throws a blanket over Jae-won and pulls her to safety. In a struggle to free herself, Jae-won not only kicks Hee-sung between the legs, she tosses him across the aisle. When Jae-won trips and falls into a set of shelves, Hee-sung shields her from the falling tools. Taking her handcuffs, Hee-sung secures Jae-won to another set of shelves and escapes before she can get the blanket off of her head. Hee-sung calls Moo-jin, who announces he almost died, to ask for information on Young Mi-suk, a name that Moo-jin recognizes. After hanging up, Hee-sung realizes that he's bleeding and steals a clean shirt from a nearby clothesline. Ho-jun finds a humiliated Jae-won, amazed that she wasn't hurt when he sees all of the tools on the ground. Jae-won learns that even though the photo was taken, the killer isn't Do Hyun-soo because the intruder needed the old woman to identify him in her photo. After buying supplies in a convenience store, Hee-sung rents a room at the inn that the taxi driver mentioned. In his room, Hee-sung breaks the glass on a wall clock to create a makeshift weapon from a large shard and some tape. In spite of the late hour, Jae-won meets with the local residents who have lots to say about Do Hyun-soo. "We should have continued the exorcism back then." Jae-won has to explain that they're not after Do Hyun-soo, but someone who's targeted him. Jae-won asks if an outsider has asked about him, but lots of people are interested in Do Hyun-soo. TV producers, journalists, writers, even police. When Jae-won asks about someone with a grudge, one woman mentions a taxi driver. Yi-sub is puzzled by dashcam footage that shows a taxi stopping and then driving off without anyone getting in or out, especially after the taxi driver said that he dropped someone off. Woo-chul gets a call from Ho-jun about the latest developments, and Jae-won grabs the phone to ask him to confirm that the missing victim's husband was a taxi driver. Putting her on speaker, Woo-chul and Yi-sub learn that the husband visited the village often to search for his wife's body. A flashback shows that the taxi driver was so obsessed with finding his wife's body that when a local confronted him about his digging, he was beaten with the shovel. It seems that the husband convinced himself that Do Hyun-soo was his father's accomplice and knew where his wife was buried. What Jae-won can't figure out is how the killer knew about Oh Bak-ya's photo, and when Yi-sub remembers the tumbler, he finds the listening device. In a flashback to the night that Nam Soon-kil was killed, the raincoat-clad driver climbed into the back seat of his waiting taxi and crawled into the driver's seat, making look as if he'd been picked up. After returning to his hideout, he had a coughing fit in front of the wall plastered with the missing person flyers of his wife, Young Mi-suk. When Yi-sub checks Young Mi-suk's file, her husband, Park Kyung-chun, is listed as a taxi driver. On his way to pick up Hee-sung, Park Kyung-chun recalls telling Nam Soon-kil that he and his wife made the matching fish tiles. Young Mi-suk's phone was found in Mi-seok's workshop, but the tile was missing, and he realized Do Hyun-soo had it all along. Park Kyung-chun thanked Nam Soon-kil. "The stuff you told me, it's going to help me out a lot." While waiting for the taxi driver, Hee-sung gets a video call from his mother-in-law. When he answers it, Hee-sung is greeted by Yoon-ha's sobs. "I woke up, and you weren't there." Looking genuinely sad, Hee-sung explains to his daughter that something came up, and when she wails, "I miss you," he promises he'll be there soon. Just as Hee-sung hangs up, Park Kyung-chun pulls up. A patrol officer shows Jae-won a watch found in the warehouse, thinking that it's hers. As Hee-sung walks towards Park Kyung-chun's taxi, Jae-won finds HS Beak engraved on the watch's band. her gift to Hee-sung on his birthday. In yet another flashback, Hee-sung heads in to see Jae-won at the convenience store. As a blackout engulfs them in darkness, he calmly hands a lighted candle to her. Silently, he walks outside and stands watching as snow falls from the sky. Suddenly, the lights come back on, and as they do, Hee-sung walks away. Only, Jae-won follows and asks him to give her a piggyback ride home. Hee-sung smirks in reply, asking if she wants to know who he really is. Back in the present, Jae-won looks in shock at the bagged watch, while Hee-sung steps in the taxi. There, he learns Kyung-chun wants Mi-suk. As they talk, Moo-jin phones Hee-sung with the bad news. That taxi driver is actually the killer. Unfortunately, he threatens Hee-sung's child and drugs him before he can slip away. When news of Kyung-chun's kidnapping breaking out, the police officers start fighting amongst themselves after being wiretapped. Meanwhile, Jae-won starts to crack under the pressure regarding her husband's watch. As they make it to the crime scene, Jae-won finds Hee-sung's phone on the ground and immediately realizes her husband is in trouble. Showing the motel owner his face, Jae-won quickly phones through to the officers and has them trace the cab. A thrilling chase ensues, one that sees Jae-won driving down to stop Kyung-chun. Only, when he throws electronics out the window at them, it immediately stops the car in its tracks. When Hee-sung awakens, he finds himself in the familiar setting of the empty pool we've seen before. Kyung-chun threatens him with a knife, but Hee-sung smugly smiles in reply. He calls the assailant boring and receives a knife to the stomach for his troubles. The taxi driver asks again, "Where is Mi-suk?" While Hee-sung does his best to survive, Woo Cheol arrives at Hee-sung's parents' house and starts asking questions about Hyun-soo. This immediately rattles Mi-ja, of course, who asks what's going on with the case. When the officers leave, Woo Cheol admits that the family are suspicious given they're more interested in the case than the well-being of their son. As we know from the previous episode, the real Hee-sung is being kept sedated in their house. Man Woo comes up with a plan. He decides that they should pretend like they didn't know anything about Hyun-soo and feign ignorance. That way, people will come round to their way of thinking. Meanwhile, Kyung-chun starts filling the pool up with water and asks what happened on May 12, 2002. It turns out that's the date Mi-suk actually went missing. As the water starts to rise, things certainly look bleak for Hee-sung. As they talk about what happened in the past, Kyung-chun shows him the fish keychain and stops the man in his tracks. Despite all of his talk about the witness changing their story back then, he didn't account for Kyung-chun having this in his possession. As it turns out, Hee-soo was the one who had this, and she handed it over to him as a good luck charm. After a brief flashback, we see Hee-soo hiding out in her house and hounded by reporters. At the same time, the officers rush to Kyung-chun's house looking for clues. Thankfully, they find something, and just in time too, given Hee-sung is struggling to breathe from the water rising in the pool. Jae-won makes it to the pool and frees Hee-sung from his watery tomb. While she does, Kyung-chun stabs Yi-sub. Holding him up at knife point, a shaking Ho-jun is unable to fire and watches in shock as Yi-sub screams, backing up and smashing Kyung-chun's head into a pole. In the past, we see a continuation of the scene from the beginning of the episode. Hee-sung and Jae-won kiss, with the latter telling him he should confront the spirit and tell them to leave. It seems to do the trick, and Hee-sung appears not to be haunted by this spirit any longer. As Hee-sung is pulled from the water, we're left with one big question: will Hee-sung survive this ordeal? In a flashback, the real Baek Hee-sung drove in a nighttime storm as he confided over the phone, "No matter how difficult it is, I need to face this by myself," asking, "So how did she seem to you?" Slamming on his brakes, Baek Hee-sung hit something, and when he got out, he found a badly injured Do Hyun-soo in the street. When Baek Hee-sung pulled out his phone to call for an ambulance, Hyun-soo begged, "No hospitals," before passing out. Jae-won watches as doctors do their best to resuscitate Hee-sung in the hospital. As they shock Hee-sung's heart, young Hyun-soo calls out to his sister to come see his latest sculpture. Hee-sung remembers how Hee-soo examined the delicate figure wearing the necklace Moo-jin gave her as Jae-won weeps by his side. Hee-sung next sees Hee-soo with blood on her face and tells her, "Live a normal life. Never look for me." As memories of the shaman, the dead foreman, and his father's black eyes swirl in his mind, Hee-sung vows, "I won't live as Do Hyun-soo anymore." When Hee-sung recalls raising Nam Soon Kill's knife and being hit by a car, he wakes up with a gasp. With great effort, Hee-sung sits up and pulls out his Roman 4. After getting out of bed, Hee-sung makes it as far at the hallway before running into a patrolman. The patrolman calls out, "Do Hyun-soo," and cuffs Hee-sung, but the exchange is only imagined. In reality, the patrolman offers to help Hee-sung back to his room, but he runs past him. Hee-sung stops at the sight of Jae-won, unsure about her feelings. He's surprised when Jae-won hugs him, and as she cries, Hee-sung pats her on the back. "It's alright, I'm alright." Moo-jin is on the phone with the woman who witnessed Young Mi-suk's abduction, but she refuses to meet with him. When he asks her to confirm that she's the witness in Young Mi-suk's case, she hangs up. Just then, Moo-jin hears Park Kyung-chun's name announced on a jumbotron overhead. In her car, Hee-sung's mom hears that the investigation into Kyung-chun's crimes has led to questions about his victims, Nam Soon-kil and Baek Hee-sung. Jae-won, her mother and Yoon-ha are present when Hee-sung is visited by a panel of doctors. An intern summarizes that Hee-sung was brought in 10 days earlier in cardiac arrest and given hypothermic treatment, lowering a patient's body temperature to prevent cell damage. When tested for memory loss, Hee-sung easily recalls his name, birth date, and Jae-won, but he doesn't remember a daughter. After a tearful Yoon-ha runs to his side, Hee-sung can't keep from laughing and picks her up, telling everyone, "Baek Yoon-ha. She's 6 years old, and she goes to small bird kindergarten." Dr. Baek walks in and learns that his son is much improved. After the doctors leave, he exchanges pleasantries with Jae-won's mother until his wife barges in and shouts, "What in the world have you been up to?" When Hee-sung's dad points to Jae-won's mother, Mom asks to be alone with her family. Jae-won tries to take Yoon-ha from Hee-sung's arms, but the girl shouts, "No, I don't want to go. Mom, I hate you." Hee-sung asks Yoon-ha to listen to Jae-won, and as soon as they leave, his mom complains, "That little rat? It's so hard to like her." Hee-sung reminds her, "She's not a little rat. Her name is Baek Yoon-ha." In the hallway, Jin-won lingers to witness the reunion before joining her mother and Yoon-ha. Inside, Hee-sung's mom asks about Kyung-chun and Dr. Baek explains that he's conscious but unresponsive. We see proof of that when Woo-chul tries to speak to Kyung-chun and gets no reaction. At the elevator, Jae-won suddenly doesn't want her mother to leave. Mom hugs her daughter and promises that everything will be fine once Hee-sung can go home. As soon as the elevator doors close, Jae-won gets a call from Ho-jun. Hee-sung promises his parents that he'll handle Jae-won, but his mother has concerns about Moo-jin. Hee-sung knows the reporter's weakness, but he won't share the details and Mom asks, "Do you not trust us?" Dr. Baek urges her to focus on Kyung-chun and she shouts, "How do you plan to shut him up?" Dr. Baek shouts back, "Did you forget what happened to us 15 years ago because of your agitation?" Suggesting that Mom should go home, she snaps, "I know how useless I am. I know that very well," and storms out. When Ho-jun meets Jae-won, he admits that he was seriously worried about her. A flashback shows that Jae-won chased down Hee-sung's doctor with Ho-jun close behind. She begged him to re-examine Hee-sung, who'd been unconscious for 5 days, but the doctor had warned that it could be some time before he woke up. After he walked away, Jae-won started to cry and asked, "How is a day so long?" Ho-jun notes, "You're calmer than I expected," and Jae-won claims that she was more excited earlier. She asks about Kyung-chun's case and learns his hearing is scheduled for the next day. Kyung-chun's head dressing is changed as Ho-jun shares his suspicion that he's pretending to be unresponsive, but his advanced cancer complicates things. Alone with Hee-sung, Dr. Baek reports that Kyung-chun's hearing is the next day and Hee-sung realizes, "That means we must do something tonight." Dr. Baek explains that because Kyung-chun is already addicted to painkillers, it would be easy to make his death look like heart attack. Hee-sung promises to think it over and is reminded, "Tonight is your only chance." Ho-jun asks Jae-won if he can get Hee-sung's statement to use at Kyung-chun's hearing. At the same time, Hee-sung calls Moo-jin, who's posted outside of a women's bathroom. Hee-sung heard that he hasn't spoken to the police yet, and Moo-jin explains that's because he wanted to get their stories straight first. After listening to what Hee-sung wants him to say, Moo-jin hangs up when a cleaning woman walks out. Moo-jin follows Miss Jang Young-hee into the men's room, but she doesn't want to talk to him. Showing Moo-jin a photo of her daughter, Miss Jang asks, "What if that monster hurts my daughter for talking?" When Moo-jin reminds her, "Do Min-seok died years ago," she blurts out, "Not him." As Ho-jun sets up his phone to record the interview, Hee-sung reaches for some lint in Jae-won's hair. and when she flinches, he asks why she's so jumpy. Gazing at Jae-won, Hee-sung remembers her cries for help after she pulled him from the water and confides, "I keep remembering how you looked." Ho-jun is ready to start when Yi-sub walks in, pulling along his Roman 4. Yi-sub greets them, "I'm fine. So don't visit me going forward as you haven't been until now," and Ho-jun whispers, "He's mad." Seeing Ho-jun's list of questions, Yi-sub scolds, "Since when does a cop hand out questionnaires?" Sitting down, Yi-sub asks Hee-sung why he was tortured instead of killed because torture is used to extract information. When Jae-won advises Hee-sung not to answer if he can't remember, Yi-sub tells her to decide if she's going to act like a cop or a wife. After Jae-won steps outside, the interview resumes. Hee-sung answers that when he told Kyung-chun that he had a cop in his family, it must have triggered the attack. Hee-sung passed out after he was stabbed and woke up to find himself submerged up to his chest. Ho-jun helpfully suggests that Kyung-chun wanted the team to feel guilty over not saving Hee-sung in time, and Yi-sub snaps, "What are you? Park Kyung-chun's lawyer? How would you know what he was thinking?" Yi-sub admits that he's bothered by the many coincidences that led Hee-sung to cross paths with Kyung-chun. As Yi-sub stares at him, Hee-sung asks, "Don't you like me?" Reminded that he advised Jae-won to break up with Hee-sung when they started dating, Yi-sub explains, "Only 3 types of people try to get on my good side. A liar, a potential liar, or one in the middle of lying." When Hee-sung suggests that the unbiased Ho-jun should question him, Yi-sub warns that Kyung-chun will talk. Still at the hospital, Jae-won gets a call from Nam Soon-kil's widow, who stares at a black duffel bag as she reports that she has information about Do Hyun-soo. Jae-won promises to meet her soon and asks her not to share the information with anyone else. After hanging up, Jae-won overhears a news report on a nearby television. The reporter, one of the journalists who confronted Hee-soo, visits the basement workshop of Do Min-seok, where his victims were held captive. The reporter crawls into a large cage and finds a zip tie used to restrain the victims. In his hospital room, Hee-sung remembers Yi-sub's warning. When Jae-won walks in, Hee-sung senses that something's wrong, but she denies it, even though she's crying. Concerned, Hee-sung urges Jae-won to go home and rest, and she explodes. "You almost died in front of my eyes. You were touch and go for 10 whole days. Do you have any idea how devastated I was?" Jae-won explains that she couldn't bear to go home to their empty house because she feared she might be alone forever. In tears, Jae-won shouts, "How could you do that to me?" When she decides to go home after all, Hee-sung grabs Jae-won's wrist and begs to talk about anything she wants. Jae-won pulls away, claiming that she's tired, and when she walks out, Hee-sung suddenly looks lost. On her way out, Jae-won stops halfway down the stairs as she remembers when Hee-sung briefly regained consciousness. Instead of seeing Jae-won, Hee-sung saw the blood-splattered face of his sister and muttered, "Hee-soo, live a normal life. Never look for me. I won't live as Do Hyun-soo anymore." Oh no. Leaning against a wall, Jae-won starts to cry. At the film set, the director informs Hee-soo that the reporters are interfering with the shoot. Hee-soo agrees to quit and is thankful that the director is sorry instead of blaming her for ruining his life. Hee-soo remembers a teenaged Moo-jin telling her, "You should have broken up with me. You remind me of your dad. It gives me the creeps." Moo-jin rings a doorbell, and when Miss Jang runs out, he argues that she can't expect him to ignore her news that Min-seok had an accomplice. Miss Jang demands to know if Moo-jin can protect her and her daughter if she agrees to an interview. Moo-jin leaves when Miss Jang's daughter walks out and threatens to call the police. Hee-sung calls his father to tell him, "I'll do it." At the same time, Jae-won picks up a forensics kit from the police station and sits down to review the foreman's murder case. Her family photo on her desk, Jae-won reads that Hyun-soo exhibited violent tendencies towards animals and lacked empathy and guilt. Hyun-soo was also diagnosed with schizoid personality disorder and psychiatric medication was recommended. Jae-won reads a witness statement that the foreman offered to take in Hyun-soo and Hee-soo after their father's death. But look what happened. Later, when Jae-won lets herself into Hee-sung's workshop, she stops in front of the locked door leading to the basement. Hee-sung throws on a doctor's coat as Jae-won uses a heavy hammer to break the lock. She carries the forensic kit downstairs at the same time that Dr. Beek hands Hee-sung a vial and syringe. Warning: don't leave an injection mark on his body. Jae-won sprays the basement with luminol as Hee-sung pushes a cart to Kyung-chun's room, remembering Dr. Beek's instructions to tell the night detective that Kyung-chun's dressing needs to be changed. The detective falls for the ruse, and when Hee-sung looks down at Kyung-chun, he opens his eyes and breathes, "I've been waiting." When Hee-sung pulls out the vial, Kyung-chun wants to know where his wife is buried before he dies. Hee-sung confides that he learned that his father was a serial killer like everyone else, from television. Kyung-chun admits, "I realized after lying here that all I know about you are rumors, and that I may be wrong." As Hee-sung fills the syringe, Jae-won turns off the basement light. Patches of blue glow on the floor, signaling the presence of blood, and a flashback to the fight between Hee-sung and Moo-jin reminds us how it got there. The luminol alerts Jae-won to the presence of a zip tie on the floor, used to bind Moo-jin's wrists, just like the one found in Min-seok's basement. Hee-sung is about to empty the syringe into Kyung-chun's Roman 4, but he stops to ask a question: how did Kyung-chun feel when he learned that his wife was dead? Kyung-chun rages, "Why do you want to know that?" And remembering Jae-won's distress, Hee-sung simply answers, "I want to know." Kyung-chun whispers, "I wanted to die, but he couldn't because he needed to lay My-suk to rest properly." Hee-sung doesn't see the point, but Kyung-chun insists that people will remember her differently once that's done. Satisfied, Hee-sung empties the syringe into the Roman 4 line. The detective overhears a female doctor thanking her male colleague for changing Kyung-chun's dressing that day. When he confirms that the dressing is only changed during the day shift, the detective runs back to Kyung-chun's room, passing Hee-sung in the hallway dressed as a patient. The detective finds Kyung-chun very much alive. As Hee-sung pocketed the syringe, he told Kyung-chun that the wooden keychain with the fish must have been given to his sister at their father's funeral, because that's when she gave it to him. When Kyung-chun asked why he didn't say anything sooner, Hee-sung reasons, "You probably would have abducted my sister to drown her too." Hee-sung suggested that the witness claimed that My-suk was abducted and his statement that he was with Do Min-seok that day were both true. Hee-sung urges Kyung-chun to use what time he has left to find his wife's real killer. Realizing that Min-seok had an accomplice, Kyung-chun begged, "Please let me live." Hee-sung explained that he stopped the Roman 4 drip and told Kyung-chun why, "Because you told no one about me even though you could." Before leaving, Hee-sung instructed Kyung-chun what to tell the police. Sitting in the dark basement, Jae-won sees Yoon-ha's baby walker in a corner and remembers walking out of her bedroom to find Hee-sung bouncing a fussy Yoon-ha in his arms. With a smile, Hee-sung told Jae-won, "Get some more sleep." The happy memory causes Jae-won to weep as the luminol glows before her. Back in his workshop, Hee-sung listens to a radio report that Kang-chun confessed to his crimes and asked the police to reopen the Yeonju City serial murder case. When he tries to check his watch, Hee-sung remembers losing it during the struggle with Jae-won in the warehouse. With Miss Kang by his side, Moo-jin thanks Miss Jang for agreeing to an interview, and she explains that after meeting him, she kept seeing My-suk. In a flashback, My-suk made eye contact with Miss Jang as she was led away by a man or a woman in disguise, and Miss Jang tells Moo-jin, "She wants me to talk to you." Recalling the events of 2002, Moo-jin asks Miss Jang why she changed her statement. In answer, Miss Jang produces an answering machine tape. After school, Yoon-ha happily runs into Hee-sung's arms. On the walk home, Yoon-ha points to a cloud that looks like an egg tart, but Hee-sung disagrees. "It looks like your mom's face." At Nam Soon Kill's Chinese restaurant, his wife passes Hyun-soo's duffel bag to Jae-won. Inside, Jae-won sees the cassette player with the wooden fish keychain and promises the worried widow, "I'll catch him for sure." Setting a tape player on the table, Moo-jin and Miss Kang listen as a deep voice warns, "You're not the only one who saw me. I saw you too." The caller cautioned that the Gakyeongri village foreman was killed because he was nosy and didn't know his place. After everything that Nam Soon Kill told her about Hyun-soo, his wife is afraid, but Jae-won reminds her that no one witnessed him committing any crimes. Jae-won thinks of Hee-sung holding their baby daughter as she argues that psychopaths aren't capable of caring for weaker beings. When the widow insists, "He's a murderer." "That's a fact," Jae-won agrees, "but people can only be punished for the crimes they commit." Jae-won needs more facts before Do Hyun-soo can receive the punishment he deserves, and she tells the widow, "I only believe what I see." Holding Yoon-ha's hand, Hee-sung smiles up at the sun shining through the trees, happy to be alive.